am Darius, a 34-year-old software engineer from Boston who finally bought my dream home after grinding for years to make it happen. When I met Amanda, I thought I had found my perfect match. Smart, beautiful, and seemingly on the same wavelength about our future together. We got engaged, and everything seemed to be falling into place. Until the day I came back from a business trip to find her secretly moving her parents into my house, without even having a conversation about it first. Before I tell you how everything fell apart, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if you have ever had someone take your kindness for weakness. Growing up in a modest household in Chicago taught me the value of hard work from an early age. My father worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, while my mother managed the household with incredible efficiency. They instilled in me a strong work ethic and the belief that with enough determination I could achieve anything. College was a struggle financially. I juggled classes with part-time jobs, often sleeping only 4 hours a night to keep up with assignments. The sacrifice paid off when I landed an entry-level position at a tech startup right after graduation. My career took off after I developed a revolutionary debugging tool that caught the attention of senior management. By 32, I had worked my way up to senior developer at one of the top software companies in Boston. The promotion came with a substantial salary increase, finally putting me in a position to achieve my long-held dream of homeownership. The house hunting process took 6 months. I viewed dozens of properties before finding the perfect place, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in a quiet suburb with excellent schools. The spacious backyard bordered a small wooded area offering privacy and a connection to nature. I converted 1 bedroom into a home office, another into a gym, and kept a guest room ready for when my parents visited from Chicago. I met Amanda at a local coffee shop 2 years ago. I was working on a coding project when she asked if she could share my table since the place was packed. We struck up a conversation and discovered we had similar tastes in music books and travel destinations. She was a 29-year-old marketing executive with an infectious laugh and ambitious career goals that matched my own drive. Our first year together was wonderful. We enjoyed hiking on weekends, trying new restaurants, and having deep conversations about everything from politics to philosophy. Amanda seemed to understand me in ways previous girlfriends never had. We rarely argued, and when we did, we resolved conflicts through open communication and compromise. 6 months ago, I proposed during a weekend trip to Maine. We had hiked to a scenic overlook at sunset, and with the ocean as our witness, I got down on one knee and asked her to spend her life with me. Her tearful yes made me the happiest man alive. We set the wedding date for the following summer, giving us plenty of time to plan our perfect day. 3 months ago, Amanda suggested moving in together. It made practical sense. Why maintain 2 separate residences when we were planning a future together? She gave up her apartment and brought her belongings to my house. I cleared half my closet space and rearranged furniture to incorporate some of her favorite pieces. The transition seemed smooth, though I noticed she contributed minimally to household expenses, explaining she was saving aggressively for our wedding. Looking back, there were subtle red flags I chose to ignore. Like the time she borrowed my credit card for what she claimed was an emergency purchase only for me to discover she had bought an expensive handbag. Or how she referred to my house as our house when talking to friends, despite the fact that my name alone was on the mortgage, and she had yet to contribute to a single payment. When I gently suggested we discuss finances and how we would handle joint expenses after marriage, she became defensive and accused me of not trusting her. To keep the peace, I dropped the subject, telling myself we would figure it out later. My best friend Jake voiced concerns after meeting Amanda for the 3rd time. "Something seems off about her," he said. "The way she talks about your success makes it sound like she hit the jackpot rather than found a partner." I dismissed his observation as overprotectiveness. Jake had been my friend since college and had seen me through some rough breakups. Of course, he would be cautious. If only I had listened more carefully to both Jake and my own instincts. The warning signs were there, but I was too blinded by love to recognize them for what they were. I met Amanda's parents for the first time last Thanksgiving. Harold and Judith flew in from Arizona, where they had lived for the past 15 years. Harold was a retired accountant with a booming laugh and a tendency to dominate conversations. Judith, a former elementary school teacher, was quieter, but had a way of subtly directing situations to her advantage. They seemed pleasant enough during their 4-day stay, though I noticed they expected Amanda to wait on them hand and foot. They also made several comments about how lucky Amanda was to have found someone with such a nice home, which struck me as oddly transactional rather than focusing on our relationship. During their visit, they mentioned they were considering downsizing from their 4,000-square-foot home now that they were both retired. "The maintenance is becoming too much," Harold explained over dinner, "and Arizona summers keep getting hotter. We might look for something smaller, maybe even in a different state." Amanda occasionally mentioned her parents in conversation after their visit, noting they were still looking at options for their next move. Once she casually asked how I would feel about having family live nearby. I said I would welcome visits, but valued our independence as a couple, a statement she acknowledged with a non-committal nod. About a month ago, I overheard Amanda on the phone while I was coming up from the basement. "Trust me, Darius will not mind," she was saying. "He has all this extra space. Just leave everything to me." When I asked who she was talking to, she claimed it was a friend discussing potential wedding venues. Last week, I had to attend an important conference in Seattle. As team lead for a major project, my presence was mandatory. The timing was unfortunate, as things at work had been hectic, leaving me little time with Amanda in the weeks leading up to my trip. Still, she assured me everything was fine and encouraged me to focus on making a good impression at the conference. During my 5 days away, communication with Amanda became increasingly sporadic. She missed our scheduled video calls, responded to texts hours later with vague excuses about being busy with work, and seemed distracted when we did manage to talk. When I expressed concern, she accused me of being controlling and said she was just enjoying some me time while I was away. Then came the strange calls from my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, an elderly widow who kept a close eye on the neighborhood. "There have been moving trucks at your house," she reported, "and people I do not recognize carrying furniture inside. Is everything okay?" When I called Amanda about this, she laughed it off. "Mrs. Patterson is exaggerating. I just ordered some new furniture as a surprise for you. The delivery guys brought it while you were away." The explanation seemed reasonable, if a bit odd, considering we had never discussed needing new furniture. The next day, another neighbor texted a photo of a large moving truck in my driveway, asking if we were renovating. When confronted with this evidence, Amanda became defensive. "Can you stop micromanaging from across the country? I am trying to make some nice changes before you get back." A sense of unease grew within me as the conference continued. My presentation received excellent feedback, and normally I would have stayed for the final day's networking events. Instead, I made the decision to fly home early and surprise Amanda. Something in my gut told me I needed to see what was happening for myself. On the flight home, I found myself reflecting on our relationship in a way I had not allowed myself to before. Had I been ignoring signs that Amanda and I wanted different things? Was I so eager to start a life with someone that I had overlooked compatibility issues? The 5-hour journey gave me plenty of time to replay moments that now seemed significant. Her disinterest in discussing a prenuptial agreement, her vague answers about future financial contributions, her dismissive attitude toward my concerns. Still, nothing prepared me for what I would find when I finally reached home. As my Uber turned onto my street, the first thing I noticed was the large moving truck still parked in my driveway. Next to it sat an unfamiliar sedan with Arizona license plates. My stomach knotted as I paid the driver and grabbed my luggage. Using my key, I entered through the side door that led into the garage. The space where I normally parked my car was now occupied by the Arizona sedan. My mountain bike and tool chest had been pushed into a corner to make room, and several unfamiliar boxes were stacked against the wall. With growing apprehension, I entered the house. The entryway, normally minimalist and organized, was cluttered with cardboard boxes labeled kitchen and bedroom. A pair of unfamiliar shoes, men's size 11 loafers, sat on my shoe rack. The distinct smell of unfamiliar cologne hung in the air. Moving into the living room, I found the furniture rearranged. My modern sectional had been pushed against the window to make room for an ornate floral sofa I had never seen before. The coffee table I had custom-made from reclaimed wood was nowhere to be seen, replaced by a glass and brass monstrosity that clashed with everything else in the room. Family photos that had never been in my house now hung on the walls. Pictures of Amanda with her parents at various life events. One of my favorite paintings, an abstract piece from a local artist, had been removed, leaving a conspicuous empty space. I stood frozen, trying to process what I was seeing. The sound of movement from the basement snapped me back to reality. Taking a deep breath, I headed downstairs to my office and game room, my personal sanctuary where I unwound after long workdays. What I found made my blood run cold. My computer desk had been pushed into a corner, my gaming setup disassembled. The sleeper sofa was now fully extended into a bed covered with unfamiliar bedding. Harold, Amanda's father, was hanging clothes in the closet, while Judith arranged toiletries on a newly installed shelf. "What the hell is going on here?" I demanded, my voice echoing in the now unrecognizable space. They turned surprised, but not particularly concerned by my presence. "Darius, we did not expect you until tomorrow," Judith said, as if this explained everything. "We are almost done setting up. Amanda said you would be thrilled to have us." "Thrilled? To have you do what exactly?" I asked, struggling to keep my tone even. "To move in, of course," Harold responded, his tone suggesting this should have been obvious. "Amanda told us you two discussed it weeks ago. Said you were happy to have us live here now that we have sold our place in Scottsdale." The room seemed to spin around me. "You sold your house to move here permanently?" "Of course," Judith chimed in. "This house has plenty of room. 4 bedrooms for just 2 people is excessive anyway. We figured we will take this space, and once you and Amanda have kids, we will be right here to help. We have even drawn up plans to convert part of the backyard into a workshop for me," Harold added, pulling out a roughly sketched floor plan. "Figure I will need a hobby now that we are retired. Amanda mentioned you do not use the yard much anyway." I left them without another word, taking the stairs 2 at a time. I needed to find Amanda. This could not be happening without some massive misunderstanding. I found her in our bedroom, or what used to be our bedroom. She was reorganizing my closet, pushing my clothes to a small section, while the rest was filled with women's clothing too mature in style to be hers. "Amanda, what the hell is going on?" I demanded. "Why are your parents setting up a bedroom in my office? Why is there furniture I have never seen before all over the house?" She turned, seemingly unsurprised by my early return. "Darius, calm down. I was going to tell you tonight. My parents needed a place to stay, and we have all this extra room. All this extra room. This is my house. That extra room is my office where I sometimes work from home. Your father is talking about building structures in my backyard." "Our house," she corrected. "It is going to be our house after we get married anyway, and my parents needed help. They sold their place and needed somewhere to land. It makes perfect sense for them to live with us." "For how long?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "Well, indefinitely," she replied casually. "They are getting older. They want to be close to family. And this way, they can save the money from their house sale for retirement instead of buying a new place." I stared at her in disbelief. "And you did not think this was something we should discuss first? You made this life-changing decision without even asking me." "I knew you would overreact," she said dismissively. "You are being selfish. You have this big house with rooms you barely use while my parents needed help. What was I supposed to do?" "Consult me, your fiancée, the person who owns this house and has to live in it." The argument escalated as Amanda's parents came upstairs, adding their voices to the chaos. Judith suggested I was being unreasonable, while Harold pointed out how much money I would save on home maintenance with him around to fix things. This is not a negotiation. I finally said, my voice tight with barely controlled anger. This is my house. I did not agree to this arrangement, and I would never have agreed to it. Amanda's face hardened. Well, it is happening. My parents have already sold their house. They have nowhere else to go. If you want me to stay, they stay too. That is the deal. In that moment, looking at this woman I thought I knew, I realized I was facing someone who had calculated and manipulated the situation perfectly. She had waited until I was out of town, moved her parents in, and now presented me with what she thought was an impossible choice. Without another word, I turned and walked out, ignoring her calls for me to stop being dramatic. I got in my car and drove straight to Jake's house, needing space to process the magnitude of what had just happened. Jake took one look at my face when he opened the door and immediately ushered me inside. You look like you have seen a ghost. What happened? Over beers, I recounted the entire surreal scenario. Jake listened without interrupting, his expression morphing from surprise to outrage. She ambushed you, he said finally. This was calculated, man. She waited until you were gone, moved them in, and created a situation where she thought you would have no choice but to accept it. I know, I replied, the full weight of the betrayal sinking in. What gets me is not just that she did this, but that she genuinely does not seem to understand why it is wrong. Jake's girlfriend Sarah, who had joined us partway through the story, shook her head. This is about boundaries, Darius. Amanda has shown she does not respect yours at all. If you let this slide, what is next? Their words crystallized, something I had been feeling but could not articulate. This was not just about the house or her parents. It was about respect, communication, and trust, the fundamental elements of any relationship. Amanda had violated all three. I spent the night on Jake's couch, tossing and turning as I replayed the events of the day and thought about similar instances throughout our relationship. Times when Amanda had made unilateral decisions, dismissed my concerns, or subtly manipulated situations to get her way. A pattern emerged that I had been too in love to recognize. By morning, I had reached a decision. This relationship was not healthy, and I needed to stand up for myself. I would not be coerced into a living arrangement I never agreed to with people who clearly saw me primarily as a provider of free housing rather than family. I returned home to find Amanda and her parents rearranging my living room furniture. They acted as if nothing had happened, with Harold asking my opinion on where to place an antique grandfather clock I had never seen before. We need to talk, I said firmly to all three of them. This situation is not working for me. I need you all to find alternative arrangements and move your things out by the end of the week. The reaction was immediate and hostile. Harold puffed up his chest and declared they were not going anywhere. We have established residency now, he claimed clearly, having researched tenant rights. You cannot just kick us out. Amanda backed her father up. This is my home too now, and I say they stay. Actually, I replied calmly, your name is not on the deed or mortgage. You have been living here for 3 months without any formal agreement. Legally, this is still solely my house. Just to be sure, I stepped outside and called my college friend Michael, now a real estate attorney. He confirmed what I suspected. Without a lease or established tenancy period according to state law, Amanda's parents were essentially guests I could ask to leave at any time. I booked myself a hotel room for the night and told the three of them I would return the following day. I expected them to be gone, or at least packing. Instead, when I drove by that evening, I saw them unloading even more boxes from a storage unit. That was when I made my decision. The next morning, while surveillance showed all three had gone shopping, I called a locksmith. He arrived within the hour and changed every lock in the house. I also changed the security system code and garage door opener frequency. As an extra precaution, I asked Jake and 2 other friends to be present when Amanda and her parents returned. I anticipated a scene, and I wanted witnesses. Sure enough, when the 3 arrived and found themselves unable to enter, Amanda exploded. She screamed accusations of illegality and cruelty, while her father threatened lawsuits. Judith tearfully claimed I was leaving seniors homeless despite the fact they had substantial savings from their home sale. When Amanda called the police, I calmly explained the situation to the responding officers. After verifying my identification and property ownership, they informed Amanda and her parents that this was a civil matter, not criminal. Without an established tenancy, I was within my rights to control access to my property. This is not just about the house, I told Amanda, as her parents loaded some belongings back into their car. This is about trust and respect. You made a massive life decision that affected me without even discussing it. You waited until I was gone to go behind my back. That is not how partners treat each other. I removed the engagement ring from her finger, feeling a strange sense of calm despite the chaos around us. I wish you well, but this relationship is over. I will have the rest of your things packed, and you can arrange to pick them up with proper notice. Amanda's shock was evident. She clearly had not expected me to stand my ground. Her final attempt at manipulation was to break down sobbing, claiming she had only been trying to help her family and that I was punishing her for loving her parents. But the spell was broken. I saw through the tears to the calculated attempt to make me the villain in a situation entirely of her creation. As they drove away, threats of lawsuits hanging in the air, I felt an odd mixture of sadness and relief. The future I had envisioned was gone, but so was a relationship that would have led to years of having my boundaries violated. The house felt strangely empty that night, even though it was now back to the same number of occupants as before Amanda moved in. I wandered from room to room, taking inventory of changes to be undone and items to be returned to their proper places. The following days brought a flurry of desperate texts and calls from Amanda. Her tactics ranged from tearful apologies to angry accusations to attempts to make me jealous. I maintained minimal contact, responding only to coordinate the return of her personal belongings. Jake and several other friends came over the weekend to help restore my home to its previous state. We removed the garish furniture additions, reinstalled my office equipment, and rearranged the living room. Each restored space felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Amanda showed up unannounced several times, once attempting to use a spare key I had forgotten about. After this third unexpected visit, I filed for a temporary restraining order, which was granted based on her pattern of unwanted contact and attempts to enter my home against my wishes. The experience left me with a complex mixture of emotions. There was grief for the relationship and future I thought I had, anger at the betrayal and manipulation. But most surprisingly, there was relief, as if I had narrowly escaped a life that would have slowly eroded my autonomy and happiness. 2 weeks after the locksmith visit, I started seeing a therapist to help process everything. Dr. Mercer helped me recognize patterns in my relationships and my tendency to prioritize harmony over healthy boundaries. We identified how my desire to be the good guy sometimes made me vulnerable to people who would take advantage of that trait. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others, she explained during one session. They are about saying yes to yourself and your own needs. Through therapy, I began to understand that standing up for myself was not selfish. It was necessary for any healthy relationship. I learned to recognize red flags I had previously ignored, and to value direct communication over conflict avoidance. Reclaiming my home became a metaphor for reclaiming my life. I repainted the master bedroom in a color I had always wanted, but Amanda had vetoed. I converted the former guest room into a music room where I could practice guitar, a hobby I had set aside during our relationship. 4 months after the breakup, I cautiously began dating again. I was upfront with potential partners about my experience and the importance of mutual respect and clear communication. Some were put off by what they perceived as baggage, but others appreciated my honesty and self-awareness. Through online forums and support groups, I discovered my experience was surprisingly common. Many people shared stories of partners who had attempted to move in family members, friends, or even ex-partners without discussion. These stories reinforced that I had made the right decision in standing firm. The lawsuit threats from Amanda and her parents never materialized. My attorney friend Michael suspected they consulted a lawyer who told them they had no case. Occasionally, I still receive a message from Amanda, usually when she's going through a difficult time and seeking comfort in the familiar. Each time I politely but firmly maintain my boundary. Today, a year after what I now call the invasion, my life has transformed in ways I never expected. The experience forced me to grow, to evaluate what I truly want in a partner, and to advocate for my own needs without guilt. I am dating someone new, someone who demonstrates through actions, not just words, that she respects me as an equal partner. Looking back, I realized that changing those locks was about more than just securing my physical home. It was about securing my right to make choices about my own life, to be consulted on decisions that affect me, and to expect honesty from those closest to me. If there is anything I have learned from this experience, it is that love without respect is not really love at all. True partnership means making decisions together, especially the big ones. It means valuing each other's autonomy and boundaries. And sometimes it means being strong enough to walk away when those things are not present. I often wonder, have you ever had to stand up for yourself in a relationship even when it was painful? How did you know when to draw the line between compromise and self-sacrifice? Share your stories in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and like this video so others can find it too. Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the greatest growth. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, your boundaries matter.